Welcome to the 700 Club. For today's top headlines, let's go over to the CBN News Desk.
Thanks, Gordon. The nation's capital is quiet today, taking a brief pause between historic events. Sunday, the country said its final goodbye to Senator John McCain on the cusp of a huge political battle. Tuesday, Democrats and Republicans square off over the confirmation of Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. This all comes after Senator McCain's memorial service became a call for bipartisanship and civility. George Thomas has this story.
The Vietnam War hero's casket was taken in a horse-drawn cart and laid to rest at the U.S. Naval Academy in Maryland on Sunday. Overhead, 4 F-18 fighter jets flew a missing man formation to honor the Navy pilot who was shot down in Vietnam and held 5 years as a prisoner of war. On Saturday, at the National Cathedral in Washington, family, friends, and one-time political opponents took the pulpit to remember McCain's larger-than-life influence on America's political life. Former President Barack Obama highlighted McCain's willingness to reach across the political aisle and suggested that Americans should follow his example.
So much of our politics can seem small and mean and petty. John called on us to be bigger than that. He called on us to be better than that.
However, it was the senator's daughter who drew the most attention when she took a jab at President Trump, who famously feuded with her father and was not invited to the service.
The America of John McCain has no need to be made great again because America was always great.
President Trump didn't seem to agree and took to social media shortly after the service, tweeting in all caps, "Make America great again."
She is her father's daughter. If you say something bad about her dad, you will know it. Whether you're the janitor or the President of the United States, she is grieving for the father she adored. And I think most Americans understand that.
As the week begins, a new battle on Capitol Hill as the Senate Judiciary Committee holds its first hearing Tuesday with Brett Kavanaugh, President Trump's second nominee to the Supreme Court.
Look, I've known Brett Kavanaugh for a long time. I think he was an inspired choice. I think he'd make a great justice on the Supreme Court.
So let me just start with Brett Kavanaugh in this way. He is the most unpopular Supreme Court nominee in the last 40 years.
Still, most analysts expect the 53-year-old nominee to be confirmed and on the bench when the court begins its new term October 1st. George Thomas, CBN News.
Police say the suspect from a double stabbing at Amsterdam Central train station Friday had a terrorist motive. Fox News reports a 19-year-old from Afghanistan targeted and stabbed 2 American citizens before being shot by officers. Both victims and the attacker were taken to the hospital, none with life-threatening injuries. Officials say the attacker is an Afghan citizen who holds a German residency permit. He appears in court today. Israeli security forces are constantly on alert to protect their citizens against terror attacks. That's why first responders from America often train with their Israeli counterparts. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell shows us how those on the front lines are working together.
This night's celebration of first responders showed how the close relationship between Israel and the United States goes beyond the country's leaders to those on the front lines.
We face not only similar enemies, we face similar threats. We are standing together. We are defending the same civilization, the same values, the same beliefs.
You are truly heroes. We owe you an eternal debt of gratitude. There's not enough I can say about you. Of course, that applies to the first responders in Israel as well, who keep us safe here.
The Advanced Security Training Institute hosted the event. It works with U.S. professionals by teaching them the latest security techniques from Israel.
So here in Israel, they love to share. The way I see it is I tell the U.S. first responders, when you come here, I don't want America to lose the blood that Israel went through and still going through, and to figure out what they're going to do to protect themselves.
U.S. first responders come several times a year to train with their Israeli counterparts.
We've been to different critical infrastructures to understand how your country protects these infrastructures. I think most members of the team, if not all, have truly appreciated what we've gotten so far.
What the goal of this organization is to help first responders understand counterterrorism and cybersecurity from an Israeli perspective, because they have an immense experience and knowledge in these two areas. But it also really what's happened is we've built relationships between Israelis and Americans over the years that helps create a more secure United States. We need them and they need us. The state of Israel is God's chosen people, and as believers we need to support that.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Crazy weather is rocking much of the U.S. this Labor Day weekend. The Gulf Coast is on alert as a fast-moving storm gains strength south of Florida. It is expected to pass over the state and turn into a tropical storm as it crosses the Gulf. Watches are in effect for parts of Florida, Alabama, and Louisiana. Meanwhile, heavy rains are bringing floods to parts of the East Coast. And in Michigan, video shows a tornado sweeping across the state Saturday. Thankfully, the storm's 75-mile-an-hour winds did little damage. From George Washington to Donald Trump, every U.S. president has taken the oath of office with his hand on the Bible. President Trump used two, and one of them now sits at the Museum of the Bible. CBN's Jenna Browder shows us how it got there.
You place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right.
A time-honored tradition.
I, William Jefferson Clinton.
Followed at every swearing-in ceremony for each U.S. president.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
President Trump took his oath on not one, but two Bibles. Abraham Lincoln's and his own from his childhood, now on display at the Museum of the Bible.
And so the Bible that we have here is the Bible that was presented to him by his mother when he was almost 9 years old, when he graduated from Sunday school from Presbyterian Church in Queens, New York.
The story of how it got here is one Vice President Pence recently told a group of pastors at an event put on by the Family Research Council.
So I was with Steve Green. I was with the whole Hobby Lobby team. It was time we went over there for a conference, and he said, well, we've got a formal request in, for a Bible from the president. We'd like to display one of his Bibles. And I said, oh, here at the Bible Museum? He said, yeah. And I said, I got that. I said, let me take that one.
Pence told him to forget about the paperwork and took the request right to the president.
So anyway, I got back that night and he called me up, and we usually check in at the end of the day. And I said, hey, by the way, I was over at the Bible Museum and they want to display one of your Bibles. And he said, they want to display one of my Bibles? And I said, yeah, I mean, like put it in a case and people can see it. And he said, well, that's great. He goes, hang on a second. He goes, it's around here somewhere. Hang on a second. And he puts the phone down. And I hear him rummaging around. And he came back to the phone and said, got it, I got it. He said, I'll bring it in tomorrow.
Sure enough, Pence says Trump brought the Bible to the Oval Office.
The president started in with all the briefers, and then he looked at me and he goes, he pushed the Bible over in my direction. And I picked it up, and I opened it up, and it was inscribed from his mother.
Inside is a note from the day Trump was confirmed in his faith.
He said, is that one okay? Is that good? And I said, well, this will be good.
The museum's request settled just like that.
It's pretty exciting for us here.
And for the thousands who can now see Trump's Bible when they visit. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.